What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about one change that I would like to see with Quidditch Champions. Now, look, I don't know if this necessarily would open the floodgates, right, to get, thousands of new players in. At this point, as we've talked about in past videos, it really is kind of the diehards, and it's kind of that way already. It's a little sad, but it is the way that it is, right? The people that are playing this game right now are your main audience, and I think from this point forward, you got to do what's best, I think, for the core group of players. And this is something that stood out to me more and more as I kept playing. Now, granted, it does impact my primary position in terms of keeper in this game. So that's the change we're going to talk about is primarily the keepers. And there are ramifications, right? There's some ripple effects as to what it does to the rest of the game, but we'll get there. So I'll just throw it out, see what you guys think, see maybe if they watch these videos and maybe we can get something going. I feel like it worked for the 6v6 thing, and maybe we can get this at least being talked about. It's simply making the catch window larger. And there's one other part to it I want to discuss, and it's more like bot related, but I really think, and this is tough for me to say, like I gotta watch my words, keeper in this game right now at the base, like the launch edition, is very difficult. And, I still think I'm an above average keeper. I feel like I can make more saves than, well, literally the average, like the opposing team's keeper. I feel like on any given match, I'm able to outperform them. Now, I can't make all the saves, and that's definitely a downgrade than, let's say, other times, but that's kind of the issue. I'm not saying I need to be perfect. I'm not saying that I need to feel like I'm going to save every single shot, but I do find, and again, this is like a ripple effect throughout the rest of the game, I find it way too easy to score. I mean, I'm becoming like an all-star chaser at this point, not because I'm necessarily amazing. I think I'm getting better. The more I'm playing it, the more I'm learning small little tricks and, refining the passing game, refining the shooting, and how to deke and all that stuff. But I do think, and I've pointed this out in other videos, I've recorded a lot of myself playing it, so it's not like I'm just making this stuff up. There are many times where I will feel like I'm there. I'm where they throw the ball, and it'll just go either through me, it'll be almost like a corner shot. It's literally a circle, right? So I feel like if you're in the middle of that circle, you should be able to save the whole thing. Now, I mean, maybe that's too far for some people, but I feel that it's gotten actually too hard to be the keeper or too easy to be the chaser, where you have to be, if you think the ball is going in the corner of, say, the bottom left, right? You got to be at the corner of the bottom left. If you're in the middle, that ball is still going in. And again, you can maybe call selfishness, considering it's picking on a position that I'm trying to be good at, and I try to play it, every single match as keeper and chaser. But I will say, I think that would help the competition overall if you do make it more difficult. Now, let me briefly talk about why this would actually help, right? And just saying, well, I play keeper, so it would be beneficial to me. I actually think this would help the entire game as a whole, and honestly, it comes from kind of making everything tighter, and that's the ramifications across the whole game, right? So not only would it be easier to, say, save a goal, but as a chaser, you'd have to work harder. It would have to emphasize the passing and last-second deking and things like that. But in terms of what it would do for, like, the overall score of the game is I think it would make everything more important. So, we've talked in the past, like, most games you catch the snitch twice, right? Sometimes only once, but at least one time. And, those points can be crucial, but to be honest with you, you can just outscore the opponent. And it's been done. I've done it before on teams. It's not necessarily the way to play it, but you can just kind of outscore, right? So I would say by limiting that score, number one, you're saying, okay, those two snitch catches are extremely important. And honestly, if you split them, right, one team catches one, the other team catches the other, it's anybody's game. Maybe even comes back for a third. Now, I don't know, 3 snitch catches in a game might be kind of overkill, but it puts pressure then on those last couple goals that your team would score. It would make the beaters more important, right? Because now maybe they have to target the keeper a little bit more because the keeper is more powerful in a sense. So now not only can you have to kind of manage going after the chasers. We've talked about kind of beater strategies before. going after chasers, going after a seeker, right? It could be very, very beneficial to allow you to catch that snitch. Well, now maybe you have to take a little bit of time as a beater, and maybe you have to target the keeper because maybe that 1 or 2 goals now is more important than it was, and the keeper is better now. So they're able to save those couple shots, right? That could kind of hurt your team scoring, so you have to now target the keeper. So I just kind of think it would make everything tighter. It would make it closer. It would make, almost obvious things, right? But it would make like goal scoring. I think goal scoring is exciting in this game. I still get excited, when I score like a really nice shot. But, if it's harder to score, but not like impossible, right? But it's harder, and you score, I think that's going to make you feel pretty good, feel that adrenaline rush. So I think it would make scoring more rewarding. I think it would make it obviously a little bit more difficult, but it would tighten up the entire game and maybe make it a little bit closer, right, than it already is. There is kind of like a meta game going on with the chasers. Like the chasers, you can use them defensively. You can use them almost as literal defensemen, and, you almost rely on your chaser being able to tackle and take the ball away. In fact, that's your first line of defense. Forget trying to save the shot. The chasers on your own team, you hope that they're able to do something. And if they can't, then you're the last line of defense as the keeper, right? I just feel, I don't know. Again, it's tough for me to say certain things without, crossing certain lines, let's say, but they've made keeper harder. Can I say that? I don't think I'll get in trouble for that. Keeper is very, very difficult, and I think it's literally because of the window. I think you're very small. The hoops are very big. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but I think you need to be in like the perfect position to save a shot nowadays when, I don't think that needs to be the case. One other thing before we get into like the bot thing I kind of want changed is this game is still glitchy. This game is still buggy. There will be times where, kind of like the gold line that'll show you where they're shooting from, it'll just break. And there's been multiple times with me as a keeper where they've shot the ball, and on my screen, the ball is still in their hand. And the line is through the goal, but it never left their hand, but they scored anyway. That is just bugginess, glitchiness, and, I kind of gave them a pass day 1, day 2, day 3. I'm getting tired of it. It needs to be patched out. It needs to be done with because that's just, that's still jank that I just think can't be in the game at this point. But that's just kind of an aside. The other part to this, and I actually do think this would also help the overall game, right? Keepers have those circle paths, right? And when you go through them, you get extra boost, or you kind of get more boost, and you can use it up. It is really, really strategic. And I think used right, it can be, like, honestly really good for your team. It can be used for offense. It can be used for defense. You can use those circles as the keeper to have your team catch up to the opposition that's trying to score on you. It can be used really well. My main thing, I've talked about this just a little bit when I mentioned like my bots kind of problem. As I've said before, like the bots are just not up to snuff. They're okay. They sometimes can surprise you. I've seen bots make some pretty good shots, as a chaser, but other times they're just too predictable. They're easy to steal from. As a keeper, they're terrible. Like I honestly, I don't even know if it could be worse when the bot is a keeper in terms of saving. Like you can barely rely on a bot to save anything. But there's one other issue with bots as a keeper, and it's this. When I'm playing, and again, I'm always keeper chaser. When I go back to be a keeper, the circles are always used. They're already in use. So I can't lay down for my team. And this is something that I think will naturally be okay when they do the 6v6 because you'll have complete control. You're the keeper the whole time. You're only worried about stopping the shots, and then you're worried about helping your team either get some boost offensively or get some boost defensively. Right now, though, I don't even know how you change this, right? I do think the first part is there's got to be some sort of coding, metric for like the circle or the area that the keeper is able to grab the ball from when it's shooting. I'm just asking for that to be larger. Like I really don't think it's that hard. In terms of the boosting thing, that one is a bit more difficult. You kind of have to change the bot's like nature to do it because it's getting aggravating. I'm really tired of going back to be a keeper and I say, I would love to give you a boost to help you get into like the kind of like the middle of the field or even get into the offensive zone. I'd love to get my team a boost to get there, but the hoops were already used like 30 seconds ago, so I can't do it. Same thing with, you're naturally chaser when it's offensive, right? Then when it's defensive, when the ball is coming back at you, then I'll switch to be the keeper. Well, I would love to, again, give the hoops to my team who's supposed to be coming back to help me, right? I'd love to give the hoops so that they can catch up to the person on the breakaway and tackle them. That would be very strategic of me. Problem is, when I go back to being the keeper to do that, the hoops were again already used because the AI used it 20 seconds ago. And it's just, there's strategy there that's being completely eliminated because the bots don't know what they're doing. And that is a problem with basically the whole game, but that's something very specific that I have noticed the more that I've played. So there you go. It is specific to a keeper. We've talked about just the bot problem in general. So if you're wondering what else I've been talking about, that I think could honestly make some good improvements to this game, I have talked about them here and there on the channel. You guys can go check that out. Let me know what you think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.